Good evening and welcome to Sir Gordon Wood Distinguished Speaker Forum. My name is Medini Singh. I teach at Columbia Business School. I'm also a senior Chazen scholar. I'm excited to open the 28th program of Sir Gordon Wood Distinguished Speaker Series, hosted by Jerome Chazen Institute for Global Business. This series focuses on the academic study and professional understanding of China's economy and business practices. I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Stephen Pan, CBS 88. Stephen Pan is the executive chairman of Silk Hotel Group and the listed FIH Corporation in Taipei, a leading hospitality company in Taiwan. Silk's group consists of several hotel brands, including International Luxury, Regent, Cultural Luxury, Silk's Place, Hot Spring Resort, Wellspring, and many others. Stephen also founded Pacific Resources Group in 1994, which has become one of the leading international real estate investors in San Francisco Bay Area and throughout the world. Stephen serves on the board of overseers for the Columbia Business School. Stephen joins a long list of prominent Sir Gordon Wood Distinguished Speakers, including Daniel Su, co-founder and CIO of Tencent, Yaqin Zhang, president of Baidu, Jack Ma, founder and chairman, Alibaba Group, Wei Hua Ma, former president of China Merchant Bank, and Victor Fung, chairman of Lian Fung. Let me now introduce the moderator for this evening, Lulu Chow Wang, CBS 83. Ms. Wang is the CEO and chair of Tupelo Capital Management. Prior to that, she was a director and executive vice president of Jennison Associates Capital Corporation for 10 years. Ms. Wang serves on the boards of Metropolitan Museum of Art, Rockefeller University, the Asia Society, and Columbia Business School, where she endowed the Lulu Chow Wang Senior Asian Scholar Program. Ms. Wang is co-chair of CBS's 44th annual dinner, scheduled for this Monday, October 11. It's not too late to register. I should tell you that if you have a question from Mr. Pan, you should enter it into Q&A, and then it will be routed to Ms. Lulu Wang, who will then ask the question. Let's welcome this evening keynote speaker, Stephen Pan, and moderator, Lulu Wang. Welcome.
Thank you so much. We're so delighted to be here tonight, and thank you for your very kind introduction. You've given us very glorious introductions, and I wanted to mention that when word got out that Stephen Pan was going to be our Gordon Wood speaker this year, I got a flood of emails coming in and very excited to catch him. And they were from friends in both Asia and in the Western world. And one that I particularly liked came from a very, very much admired and successful businesswoman. And she told me, she said, you know, I have known Stephen since he was almost in short pants 30 years ago. And even though he was just a cute little boy, I always told his father, this boy is going to amount to something. He is going to achieve the pinnacle of success. And of course, his family all laughed. And now, I must say, this friend of Stephen's was absolutely right. We couldn't find a more successful and iconic leader in the industries he serves, hospitality, real estate, and others. And so we are so pleased to have him with us tonight. Without much ado, Stephen, I'd love to ask you a few questions.
Okay, I'm very humble and honored to be on the speaker forum. Thank you, Lulu, and thank you, Professor.
Well, Stephen, it's clear from all the fan mail I've been getting on your behalf that you have many friends throughout the world. And I think knowing you and your very personal style of leadership, that friends and family must have played a very important role in how you developed your success. And I wonder if you could talk to us a bit about the role of family and friends.
Sure, Lulu. And I'm a stickler to learning. So every friend, every person I know, and every minute, every encounter inspire me. I can always pick up something from somebody, and sometimes. And I think one of the longest friendship I ever had, besides my childhood friend, is friendship from Columbia Business School. And I was all the way into studying of finance. And you know, David, he joined Goldman Sachs. We joined investment banks. And even today, David is my you know, partner in the REIT, and he's my independent director. So my friendship endure, and all my friends, a lot of my friends endure throughout colleges. We still have 10 friends from Berkeley that went on retreat every 2 years. You know, almost went to the Brokeback Mountains, but we don't do anything stupid. And I want to say that I remember at business school, I studied every finance classes there is. And I'm so grateful that the financial education really enabled me to do well on the wealth creation phase of my life, which is first 10 years.
Right.
But what really made a difference was a meeting, that the last meeting I came to New York for, overseers meeting, which is years ago. A speech by Professor Bruce Greenwald.
Right.
That was at the height of globalization. This is 5-6 years ago, before Trump. And he said the key in globalization is local leadership. And that planted the seed of everything I do since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually refocus, realign. I don't have a supply chain, but I made alliance with IHG, Intercontinental Hotel Group, with Regent, and I focused back to North Asia instead of global, and try to be a local champion. Mm-hmm. So it was very critical. Yeah. And another, I also have lots of friends in organizations around YPO, Young President Organization. And I was very fortunate that I was active, and I served in the chapter, I served in the region. And especially what I regret, I did not take any other class but finance class in Columbia, because when my company was going global, starting 2000, I was that, you know, clueless. But I was so fortunate that I was part of YPO, and I went to a lot of officers training. And at that time, YPO has a GLC, Global Leadership Conference. So I modeled a Global Leadership Conference, 3-day conference, to our annual executive workshop. So first day, resources like you guys. Second day, general managers, marketing people, finance people, all sit separately together from all over the world to work out their own functional budgets and plans. And the third day, everybody come together and present. And so I'm so grateful that YPO, I grew with YPO as I went multinational.
So Steve,
yeah.
So it's very clear that a strong base of friends from both school and from your career days has built up a very strong foundation for you to make very bold decisions. And I emphasize the word bold because you have lived through many different crises. Obviously 9/11, the SARS pandemic, financial crisis, and certainly the current pandemic. And rather than let it discourage you and have you pull back from taking risk, it encouraged you to seize opportunity when you saw opportunity during these moments of turbulence. So tell us a little bit about how you had the gumption to go and dramatically reposition your businesses during the time of COVID, when there was a lot of disarray, when your business, obviously hospitality was very hard hit by the pandemic. But what did you do during these times of stress to take advantage of that stress to better train your people, to reposition your companies and maintain a really positive culture?
I was thinking very hard about this question. And I would say at first, it's good intention. Because right when COVID started, everybody was facing the question of whether to, in our industry, everybody had to lay off people because there was no business. Business went to zero overnight. And I was contemplating ESG. And it dawned to me that the ultimate social responsibility of a company is not to abandon your people in such times of needs. Mm-hmm. So I was crazy enough to set a no layoff policy. Now, that really pushed me to the corner. Mm. Yeah, but to live it up, I had to do everything we can. So when there's no business, we basically almost closed the hotel. And then everybody went through 100 hours of training per month for 3 months. And everybody learned to do everybody else's job. It was cross-training. It was training on local culture. Everybody became digital savvy. So I thought I might as well make it count because I always wanted to build a hotel school and a learning organization. Then when the business started to come back, hey, what do you do in a major city? Because everybody else is going to resorts. Nobody wants to come into the city. And a business hotel is boring. So again, I look instead for self-discovery. I don't like to look at competitions and do what everybody else do. I don't like to benchmark. So Regent has a line of business which is equally devastated. Regent 7 Seas Cruise. Cruise has everything, but it's in a floating hotel. So the entertainment, the activities, the restaurants, the experience, hey, we thought if we can bring everything on a cruise to our hotel, then we become a resort, right? Except, hey, in a cruise, a waiter in the morning could be a song and, singer and dancer at night. And a security guy could be a security guy could be an engineer or it could be a, lifeguard. So what are you gonna do? Hotel is so compartmentalized. But I was saved by the 3 months of training because by that time, everybody is multi-skilled. So we embarked on the biggest repositioning and the fastest repositioning from a city hotel to a urban resort hotel in history. And we have 20 cruise programs, summer, family, Halloween, Christmas cruise, you name it, entertainer, New York holiday cruise, Tokyo holiday cruise, you name it. So we were able to do that out of I would say, strings of accidental preparations, but also this all started out with a commitment and good intention. Yeah, and we also closed the restaurant, so we're lucky that we own Domino's Pizza, so we leveraged that digital technology. And then we were able to make up half of our lost revenue in 3 months. So right now, by accident, Cloud Kitchen has become our future growth engine for a hotel company. So I looking back, I feel it all started with a good intention of helping others. I think that's a key.
Well, you led by example and learned how to dance and wait on tables at the same time too, right?
I did my share, but not singing. There are a lot of good singers in Taiwan.
Stephen, you made one comment to me a few days ago that I found really interesting. You were saying that COVID has really reshaped the way Americans travel, take vacations, what they do with their families, and that when the so-called normal times return, the new normal will be that people will travel a bit less, but they'll take longer trips, longer vacations. And this certainly has implications for the hospitality industry. And since you've anticipated this, how have you repositioned some of your hotel amenities to accommodate this?
Mm-hmm. Great question, Lulu. It's, I think the pandemic accelerated a lot of lifestyle changes. And one of the most important things is it enabled us to work and live and play anywhere we want. I mean, as we speak right now, everybody's at home, in office. So we see a convergence of different uses of real estate and lifestyle coming together. And actually our DNA started 30 years ago as a first mixed-use development in Taiwan. And we have a hotel and a Regent Galleria. We had joint venture with Duty Free. We created the biggest mall attached to a hotel 30 years ago in Asia. So in Regent, every deal we've done has a huge residential components. Yeah, because we see vacation homes or in the city, permanent homes and semi-permanent nomads. A lot of people are spending 3 months a year in a certain city, like in New York, in Christmas or Tokyo, for the in spring. So we're seeing the convergence, and therefore real estate market has to be adapt. We have a new brand called Sales X. So it's sort of like the SUV of the hotel industry. So our lobby has the element, has the element of week work, has the element of course, restaurant and residences. And I will also say that hotel being one of the oldest industry, and it's always been a platform to upgrade personal services industries. Take example, WeWork is a perfect example of using hotel services and hotel design concept into office environment. And again, luxury residentials are a great example of utilizing hotel as a platform to add value. So I see a convergence of everything.
So Stephen, as you were repositioning and in many ways restructuring your companies to align with this new reality in hospitality, did you find that you needed to also tweak the culture of your people, because they were now beginning to engage with their the customers in a slightly different way? How were you able to find the right culture that accommodated them, but also accommodated the new interface with your clients?
Great question. Actually, we did not tweak the culture because our culture is based on the golden rule. It's treat the others the same way we wish to be treated. And our mission has always been to bring the best of the world. I reshaped it to best of world to Taiwan and best of Taiwan to the world, thanks to Professor Bruce Greenwald inspiration. And so the mission was very clear. And I think culture is shaped by a successive generation of people we bring in. I mean, younger generation naturally will evolve the culture in a different way. But I think it's very, very important to have a core of a people-centered culture supported by, commitment. I mean, I do lay out people out of merits, but in times of needs, people need to be connected together. So it's a culture, I think, is really cemented in crossroads. When you have to make hard choices, and when people see you make hard choices, and the hard choices I found usually the right choices are usually the hard choices. It's very costly in the beginning. It's very hard at that time. But when you do that, it reflects and cement the culture, and people will evolve and people will fly. I think Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I'm in that camp. And in my experience, brilliant strategy without people did not work out very well.
Right.
But great people, even without strategy, the earnings per share worked out pretty well.
Exactly. And I think you understood the needs of your people to have a sense of inspiration from you during these very hard times, because obviously everyone saw people around them getting sick, getting laid off, their futures being truncated. So you really needed to provide that leadership for the people. And it was happening when things were spiraling down very quickly all around the world, the death rates, the sickness rates. So whatever you did, the hard decisions you made had to be made very quickly. And it meant putting capital to work very quickly. Were there times that you had any doubts that maybe I'm on the wrong path, that I'm investing so much to reorient our business, but what if it doesn't turn out? Did you ever have moments of doubt?
Oh, I'm in moments of doubt all the time. because well, you know, when everybody's laying off people, I'm the only guy who's keeping everybody and have to feed everybody. That was you know, that was driven by our experience in SARS. Everything went away in 6 months, but when it dragged on for 18 months and more until now, you know, it's a tough, but the outcome is beyond expectation, because everybody just transformed. It's different. It's, you know, we're in the service industry, so when people are energized, it's 100 times more effective. So we were able to outperform the other hotels by 200% last year, you know. And then I put in a lot of renovation in the beginning, thinking that, hey, hotel shut down 3 months, I better fix everything. What's a better opportunity? And clearly, in retrospect, I should have done it this year instead of last year. But what it is, I think the pandemic slowed us down in a way that we're becoming more self-aware. So we did retweak our culture a little bit. We look at well-being seriously now. And it's not just wellness, because we have a traditional sense of wellness, but well-being also in terms of community, our social responsibility, our environment. And we even have an intellectual well-being. That's where the, you know, hotel school, our concept of training coming in. So at the end of the day, I think it was very doubtful at the moment of decision. But looking back, I think we were able to turn it around to something better and something more durable and resilient, and we set ourselves up. So it is tough. It is tough call and doubtful calls, all in the beginning. Everybody, you know, disputed. But when you feel that you are, I mean, we're talking about people, so, and helping others. So when you are true to your purpose, you got to go ahead and do it. Yeah, even though it seemed wrong at that time.
In fact, Stephen, what you did is a really great example of what many companies are being asked by their shareholders, that what did you do during the pandemic that made your company really better, not only to survive the pandemic, but to come out of it stronger and actually more competitive. And whether by luck or by smarts, and I think it's the latter, you really
We've
did.
been very lucky.
You luck and hard work and some vision. And as I listened to you about how the new values that you're really emphasizing, sustainability, care about the environment, these are the values that really attract and resonate with young people. And I suspect that you will probably find your companies now attracting more young people who want to work for you, because you have the values that they have been looking for, especially as they come out of the pandemic. They're looking for something truer and more genuine.
Yeah, I think it's you know, that was a very nice outcome. And then also, but I think the whole thing is, you know, we're here at Columbia Business School, and it's that learning organization. I mean, I'm a believer of lifelong learning. So I believe that, especially in our business that hires so many people, so labor intensive, that my purpose is to create a learning platform so people can grow and thrive. So it is based on this learning platform that we can attract and continue to, I think, operate throughout, good times and bad times. So I would say it's a lifelong learning platform that we're building. And from there, people will explore what's significant, what's important for them. Yeah. So I'm providing a platform for people. I don't necessarily want people to go in a certain way, but it's important that I give them the tool and environment so people thrive. And that's my purpose.
Absolutely. And that's very clear what your value set is. One of the buzzwords that we've been hearing from everywhere, from every industry, due to the dislocations during the pandemic, has been supply chain. The breakdown of the supply chain, it's shifting geographically. And so everyone's focused on supply chain. And you're not a heavy manufacturing business, but you do source many different products to provide in your hospitality business. So are there any things you can comment to us in that, how you've addressed any supply chain dislocations? And a second part to this would be, in addition to how you address supply chain issues, have you also found a reason and opportunity to form new partnerships, new alignments, either with vendors or customers or co-marketers?
Yeah. Actually, onshoring or shortening a supply chain is a great environmental, benefit to our business. So farm to table. So it's even better. It's even better for our guests. It's even better for our people. So we started this process even before, but now we intensify. We going into local growers. We're even bypassing the wholesalers, and we working. And this started actually with a lot of Michelin chefs that we work with. So locally, we're really shortening supply chain. It's actually good for human beings. I mean, everybody should eat local, in season, anyway. And so it's a welcome surprise. And I always say crisis always enable me or us to do the things that we've always wanted to do, but was not able to. Either too busy, but when you are forced upon to do something, hey, better results actually come about. So let's not miss the old supply chain.
That's right. Well, the
new opportunities will emerge and to make a better world.
Well, there is an old Chinese saying, never waste a crisis. And you certainly did not waste this crisis. But going the second part of my question, were there any opportunities for you to establish new partnerships or new arrangements with people who could help you to grow together mutually?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is even before 1 year before the pandemic that we have a joint venture with Intercontinental Hotels Group. So all of the region's international expansions in Asia, Europe, America will be handed over to Intercontinental. So what we have to do is Taiwan and North Asia. So so it was, in a way, even that was a shortening of supply chain. That means, lifestyle-wise, I don't have to go 24-hour time zone travel, which is a big plus on executive, lifespan and health. But also, circle back to globalization. The winner is local champions. So it fortified our strategy as being a local champion. So, and forming alliances with small contract farmers, actually a great ESG. We're helping people who never had access to 5-star hotels, and the farmers, because of us, were even able to export to Singapore Michelin star restaurants. So we're the reverse of a supply chain, because Taiwan has a very excellent bio agricultural or specialty agricultural business. So we are able to find new partnership, even global, in hotel management or even down to local supplies. Yeah.
Right. And so we've talked about all the things that have worked out well for you during this time of stress. And you've made some very bold and quick decisions, and they've turned out well for you and the business. Were there any decisions that in retrospect you might have made differently, that if you had now the time to think things through, you would have taken a different track, and you might be able to share with our audience how they can avoid making mistakes when they have to work very quickly?
Yeah. I've been very, very lucky. So if I had to do it again, I probably put all the trainings online. But a lot of things cannot be done online in hotel business. Yeah, and which was a lot more efficient. But to be serious, I would have paced out my capital programs. I was in a hurry to fix everything in 3 months, and I should have taken my time and take more time in planning, because we're flying on the seat of pants. We're working like a startup. So once we have a product, it's go. I mean, we basically were operating in 1 day a speed of 1 week. So we're operating 7 to 10 times. Yeah. And I have to say that I actually took a vacation last year in November to America for 1 month, not because I need it. I think my team needed from, they need to get away from me. Yeah, they were burning out. So if I'm there, they will burn out. It's not good. So I think it's very important that we leave some slack. If I do it again. So this year, I'm taking it relatively easy. I try to get myself out of the office, earlier. Yeah, and spend more time taking care, swimming and doing Thai boxing. So I think it's very, very, very important that this is such a great opportunity to take care of your, lifestyle and health, and to get, to build the right muscles for the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And Stephen, I'm starting to get in some wonderful questions from our audience, and there are quite a few that focus on, and you won't be surprised at this because it's on all our minds, the rising tension between U.S. and China. And so I think, as you know, we at Chazen, we're totally apolitical, but we like to bring thoughts to the podium so people can look at issues from different perspectives and form an educated context. So given what you know about the US-China situation, particularly from the Taiwan perspective, is there any reason to believe that what is now almost dubbed a Cold War, but maybe more diplomatically we can call it strategic competition, is there anything that could sort of turn that around and move it more back to strategic cooperation, which we enjoyed in the past decades? And if there is any reason to be optimistic, what are some common interests that the US and China can focus on to develop this strategic cooperation?
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is.
And yeah, well, I think from a Taiwan perspective, to give you some perspective, Taiwan and China, of course, basically from a national security and defense front, we're at war for 70 years. Yet 25% of the GDP of Taiwan is export related to China. So we're able to, I mean, we have a very tense relationship on a government level, yet we have a very vibrant cooperation, in the business. So I think there's a decoupling of New York and Washington anyway. Yeah, and however, I want to say there's a sea change, there's a titanic shift in the direction of China, probably 10 years ago, starting 10 years ago, and US responded. Yeah. So and the pandemic sort of accelerated, and highlight the national security of supply chain and all that we are aware of right now. Yeah. Yeah. And I from a Taiwan perspective, Taiwan was sidelined in the era of globalization, of US-China cooperation and partnership. Yeah. And the seismic shift that happened 4 years ago,
Right.
sort of changed sort of put Taiwan in the center.
Yeah.
Yeah. But however, something very interesting here. Taiwan was a real trouble spot for US-China relationship, for the last 40 years, but not in the last 4 years. This is very hard to understand, but let me explain. When US and China are cooperating together, working together on globalization, Taiwan is a sore spot. Yes, it's the cause of concern for US-China. But now that, US and China becoming competitors, all of a sudden, Taiwan has the entire Western world as alliance from a national security. And Taiwan is no longer the cause of US-China competition. I mean, I like to argue that if Taiwan doesn't exist today, US and China will still be competing. The trade war, the supply chain, the trade war had nothing to do with Taiwan. It was a natural course of history. So we have 40 years of globalization. I remember I took a class of cycle in Colombia. And then the Chinese believe in, seasons. It's just the way the world goes around. Like market has cycles. So we reach the peak of globalization. It's natural that we bounce back. So we're something in the middle. So I'm not concerned. I'm not too concerned about decoupling for the prosperity's sake, for economic benefits. Taiwan has been working with China, for the last 70 years, despite much more hostility than US and China right now. And I would argue that China can do pretty well on its own too. And so do the US and the Western world. And we can be more prosperous and do it even better with less, with shorter supply chain, but we're talking about a more vibrant community and domestic economy. I think Hong Kong is doing wonderful because the Chinese investment and the prosperity will take Hong Kong along with it. So I really don't see anything wrong. And by the way, Taiwan is in the intersection of two supply chains.
Yes.
Yeah. Out of the top 10 exporters in China, half of them are Taiwanese companies. These are companies that make notebook, iPhones, and all kinds of devices. And so it's Taiwan could be in a position to benefit. But of course, national security is a totally different concern, and it's completely valid. Yeah. And Taiwan's position now, being in the center, is almost like Berlin now. It's a symbol of a new world order. Yeah. But that's politically. Yeah.
Right. It's interesting because you look at each geography, China, US, and Taiwan, each has been very successful in its own economic model and trade model. And it just begs the question, if we all could learn from each other and adapt best practices from each other, how much more prosperous and efficient and higher growth we could all be. And it's just, I suppose it's being too optimistic to think that we could ever come to that. But I think we as citizens of the US, China, and Taiwan can, if we can begin to militate toward some common groups to talk about how mutual benefit should triumph over the competition. It would be interesting. Is there any interest in Taiwan in this direction, or is it not something you hear much about?
Oh, I mean, I was going to comment on, continue your comments on, you know, if we look back in history, before the 70s, post-war, from the 49 to 70s, the Western world has developed on its own and very well, with US taking the lead. While basically we have a different supply chain dominated by Russia and China, you know, during that time. And look, the US and Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Europe, all prosper. So it, you know, the world is big enough to have two superpowers, two supply chains, or three supply chains. So I'm not too concerned. India is going to be a big force. So I mean, being a very entrepreneurial, you know, entrepreneurial person from an entrepreneurial country, you know, 23 million people have 2 million chairpersons. We have 2 million companies. It's, you know, I tend to believe that the human nature and entrepreneurial will trump the new political order. Yeah, will trump the new political order. Yeah, and China is very pragmatic, even though we have a different political system, but both can, you know, grow and serve its people in the long run. So I mean, you know, Taiwan is the semiconductor is the oil of 21st century. So we're forced to invest everywhere in the world by the government. We're forced to invest in US, in Japan, in China, in Germany. So hey, we'll do that. That's great. So we are in both supply chains because we produce the most important commodity for the information and digital world. So there's a lot of talk about it. Again, I'm usually a loner. I'm a loner in this respect, and you know, there are a lot of short-term development. I remember our own Kevin Roth, you know, chairman of Asia Society, he made a great observation about China is preempting US on the decoupling. Of course, because China wants to turn the table around. They were taking punches from Trump all this time. Now they see what's happening in Afghanistan. Hey, man, you know, this is a guy to punch. So they're gonna take all the initiatives. They're gonna throw all the punches. They you know, and initiated decoupling have many advantages for China. It take away leverage from US. And actually, politically, it was very good to put China in that place because they have a very important election a very important event happening next year to determine the leader. Yeah. So it has every benefit to decouple from US right now. So unfortunately, the decoupling right now, China turned the table. It's China who wants to decouple, so they can gain leverage negotiating with US. So China right now has all the strength, is on the strong upper hand right now against the US because of the weakness in our administration. Right. So, hey, you know, the table has turned.
So Stephen, if we were to take Kevin Rudd's comment about China preempting the US in decoupling, if there's an optimistic turn of events and there's a recoupling, who do you think would be the preemptive player, the US or China? And why?
Well, interesting enough, the recoupling right now, US wants recoupling. US actually wants, if we read carefully about Catherine Tai's comment on Monday, actually, US took 2 steps backward in Trump and now want to take 1 step forward. And right now, it's trading places. It's China who wants decoupling because China doesn't want, because China sees weakness in US and turmoil. Where our politics so divided. It's a very weak government, relatively speaking, in the US. So China wants to take initiative. China want to decouple right now because they don't want to see another crazy guy coming in 3 years and change everything. So China wants to take initiative. China wants to put US in the corner. Hey, and now it's US begging for recoupling. Yeah. So that's a very interesting conversation, how the table can turn and US can be in such a weak position now. Yeah, it's the US wants to meet with China. Not that Xi Jinping doesn't want to meet with anybody.
Well, there are little signs of defrosting on both ends, but these are very, very small green shoots. So we have to watch and see what happens. But earlier you mentioned something that we've all been talking about, that next fall, there's going to be the National Congress in gathering in China. And everyone feels that a lot of posturing is going on in front of that, just as we in the US do a lot of posturing before national elections. So after we get through the National Congress in China, do you think the playbook will continue to be the same, or will it might be slightly different?
I don't want to make any guesswork. I'm not an expert on it, but there's a lot of unpredictability in the system there, because it's not opaque. Nobody, so anything can happen any day to anyone. Yeah. So, but the national security concern that initiated, and the reversal of globalization back to a new equilibrium, I think that's a long-term direction for the next 30 years, because we come a long way. So it's time to get ready. And really, I think it's going to be better than the last 30 years. Yeah.
In China.
Oh, in China and the rest of the world too.
Well, yeah. We'd like to have an optimistic forecast. We'll take that to the. But you mentioned earlier that you're sort of a out-of-the-box thinker or a loner, and one of the questions from our audience has addressed that, kind of saying that you are Western educated and trained, and how did that kind of background allow you to do so well in the consensus culture of Taiwan?
Well, I left Taiwan when I was 15, so I was grounded in traditional Confucian education. Yeah, even though we had to memorize everything, but that did not screw up my brain. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think it's important that there's right and wrong, and you have to hold your place. Yeah, and it's also very important that for me, I think it's been soft outside and flexible, but being very hard, holding on to your principles of integrity. Yeah. So you can be two-faced. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you have to be true to yourself. Yeah. Right. But I want to say about, it's a follow-up on the last question about, China and US will do well in the long term, is because, when China look at the targets, the kind of companies or things that people that they're cracking down, on video games, on basically on people making too much money. No, it's not a good thing, but for most people, it is the right thing to do. And for society as a whole, China is also preempting the inequality that's causing all the major issues that that our societies are facing. So if it can be fixed, China is a better place, but I'm not saying it for billionaire and rich people in China. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for entrepreneurs.
Actually,
but for most people, it's going to be good. Yeah.
Actually, it's very interesting you're making these comments, because as the Americans have been sort of digesting what's going on in China, the going against the overpaid billionaires and the overpriced educational products, the excessive gaming.
Yeah, we have all that here.
A lot of American parents would say, why doesn't he come over here? If she were to run for president in the United States, he just might win here.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, yeah, but I think we probably have to have different ways of getting to the same place, somehow in the distant future. Yeah. So that's why, and U.S. in the short term, politically in a turmoil. So and then we have a relatively weak administration that doesn't bode well for U.S. in the short term until we settle the dust, maybe next year or in 3 years. Because the world needs a leader, and the world needs a police. Yeah. Okay.
I'm good. We're drawing close to our end of our time, but there is one very practical question from one of our audience, and obviously probably spoken from the perspective of someone who's having some challenges in this marketplace. But he was saying, or she, how did Stephen convince investors to support him through the crisis when he had the optimism that his company could navigate the crisis? But how did you convey to your shareholders that sense of optimism to stay with the stock?
I mean, we've been very lucky. Our share price kind of stayed put. I mean, it dropped a lot, but right now it's back to pre-pandemic level. One thing I did that I haven't mentioned was, the role of government has changed since pandemic. Look at the trillions of dollars and the subsidies. So the role of government is going to be very important. I mean, if lesson can be learned, look at Japan. In the last 30 years, the government pretty much owns 50% of Tokyo Stock Exchange. So the role. So what I did in the beginning, I actively engaged in government. So in terms of providing advice for salary subsidies and what need to do and the timing, because every day is you can make a difference in the economy and the lives of business. So in a way, I use media to make recommendations. So when I meet the government official, they already read what I have to say. So I did not use investor relations. No, I was compelled to make recommendations to a government. So again, luckily, indirectly, that was, if I look back, that could be thought leadership, marketing, but I wasn't thinking marketing. I was just thinking about survival. So doing the right thing and the important thing, and doing things to help others, because I was, I was just cheering, try to get subsidy for the 200,000 people working in the hotel, and the government ended up using that program for 2 million people that was affected. But doing the right things, helping others, will probably bring you unexpected benefits to your company. So I think what I want to say was doing the right thing, and really looking back, last year was the worst year financially for us, but the best year ever in my life.
That's a wonderful commentary, and Stephen, and having talked to you a few times in the last couple of days, I think my takeaway and what I've learned from you is that end of the day, it all boils down to people. And if you come right with people, whether it's people who work with you, your own team, or people who are your clients and customers, or people in the greater community, if you come through for them, you're authentic and you're honest, that is probably one of the most important premises of success, whether personally or in business. But in addition to that, just looking through all the things that you shared with us the last couple of days, and you've been so generous with time on campus. In addition to coming right with people, are there one or two other just essential axioms you might want to leave with our audience tonight?
Well, first, I want to, thank you for the opportunity for the last couple of days being a scholar in residence. And actually, you saved me a lot of time traveling. So this is, I think this is a much better way to get interesting, and stimulating resources. I think curiosity is really, I've been blessed by curiosity, and every moment, every second, even the same street that I walk, 1,000 times, I get inspirations. So, everybody is equal. We all have 24 hours to live. Get lots of sleep, but while you're awake or doing the things you want to do, really put everything you got in everything you do. So that's, and then the second thing is, helping others is, there are a lot of successful people, all of you audience here are successful people, but successful people are not happy. A lot of them are not happy. So to be happy and successful, the key thing, to be sustainable is about helping others. Right. It's to take yourself out of the equation. Stop thinking for myself, stop, and then really act in the best interest of everybody else. Then you ended up helping yourself.
Absolutely. And one other wise thing I heard from you yesterday, we had a wonderful meeting with Dean McGlaris and and our faculty, and we were discussing the value of innovation, which is now the basis of competition worldwide. And so we're discussing whether innovation is innate, or the creativity is innate, or is it something that has to be learned and practiced and implemented. And the complete consensus of you and our faculty was that, yes, some people may have a bit more creativity that they're born with, but end of the day, the real ability to be creative comes from implementing, and that comes from learning and watching, listening, and putting into effect what is begun with that one idea, but then you have to implement it, and you do it with people. And I thought it was a great advertisement for Columbia Business School, because people come here, we only bring in the most talented young people, but they have to come to learn, to listen, and then they can leave and be great implementers of innovation. So on that note, I would like to thank you so much. It's been a wonderful evening to hear your wisdom and your optimism and energy. And this is a great way to celebrate our 28th Chazen Institute, a 28th Gordon MOOC Forum program. So it's been a fabulous evening, and we hope you'll come back and visit us again.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to share. And I just love the energy, and I just love the campus environment. That's my dream.
Absolutely.
Go back to campus.
Come back anytime. And to our audience tonight, thank you for joining us. We hope you will tune in again next year for the WU Forum, but we have wonderful programs all year round. And thanks to the digital revolution on campus, we are truly bring great programs to a much broader audience. So thank you again for joining us, and see you again soon. Thanks again,
Thank
Stephen.
you, Lulu.
Yes.
Professor Xing.
Thank you for a wonderful introduction.
Thank you, Lulu.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.